So for my topic, I chose the Titanic conspiracy, which is what I saw on TikTok, and I just got super interested by it, and I wanted to dive deeper into the topic. So a little bit of Titanic background is that most people probably knows, but it was the biggest ship in the world at the time, and it was declared unsinkable. Um, on April 12th, 1912, um, the Titanic struck an iceberg and broke apart and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Around 1,500 people passed away from the wreck, and most of the survivors were only women and children because men were not allowed to get on the lifeboats. So to get in the actual conspiracy is to look at the investors of the Titanic. The biggest investor was J.P. Morgan, which is the owner of J.P. Morgan and Chase, the company now that's worth billions of dollars. He invested $50 million into the Titanic, and because of that, he had a lot of say in the construction and everything like that. Some important details of the conspiracy is that the people who were on board were the three biggest competitors of J.P. Morgan, and they were Jacob Astor, Isidor Straus, and Benjamin Guggenheim, and all three died during the sinking of the Titanic. It's also believed that J.P. Morgan also invested in another ship called the Olympic, and that ship was a sister ship of the Titanic. They looked identical, and it was reported that the Olympic had been damaged at sea before the Titanic was set sail, and JP supposedly knew this and supposedly switched the names of the ships, and now the Titanic could be sank, and JP Morgan could also do two things at once, which was eliminate his competition and collect insurance money from the sinking of the Titanic. So he committed a little bit of fraud too. Another detail is that JP Morgan favored the formation of the Federal Reserve Bank, and his main motive behind it is what people think is that the three competitors that were on the ship were all against the Federal Reserve Bank in America, and because they thought it would give the government too much power. And so with these three now gone, he was able to establish the Federal Reserve Bank in America. Another really important topic is that J.P. Morgan supposedly had tickets to board the Titanic, but for some reason, for an unknown reason, he did not board the Titanic that day. So a lot of people think that he wanted to act like he was going to go to America so that people wouldn't suspect anything. And then now, with him not being on the ship, he would not die. Another interesting thing to think about is the Olympic, since the names were switched. The Olympic, or the Titanic is now the Olympic, and the Olympic actually made several voyages to America, which J.P. Morgan was on those. And so it's interesting to see that since J.P. Morgan canceled his trip on the Titanic because he knew that it was going to sink, but he was able to get on the other ship to make it to America. It's just kind of interesting. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if it's actually real. It's hard to say because all these people are all dead now, so no one really knows the truth anymore. But I just thought this was an interesting conspiracy to dive into. It's very interesting. I encourage everyone to dive into it so that they can form their own opinion. A lot of experts out there do think that this conspiracy is not true, but there's also a lot of conspiracies that seem very true, but all the experts say they're lies, so I don't really know what's true and what's not. So